everybody. Scott Fischer with Options for Senior Living back with you today for another episode of Don't Let Haboob Hit You in the Face. Each show I explain to you what are we talking about, because I get people from out of town going, I don't know what haboob is. And if you look over my shoulder, that is Arizona State University last summer. If you look over here, that's Phoenix getting swallowed last summer by a 65-mile wide cloud of dust that was a mile high. And behind it, that cloud of dust covered most of the city. We had explosive winds, tore off roofs, pulled trees down, inches of rain behind it. And you're like, what happened? What happened? And we all went to work that morning. It's in the summer. It's the hot time of the season. And it is our summer season. It's the season for these things. But none of us thought that was happening that afternoon. When we came home, we were all surprised. We were driving in the dirt storm. And then it got crazy when we got home. And you guys, at Options for Senior Living since 2003, I have been in the crosshairs of people's lives. I have been walking with families who are experiencing the challenges of aging, and they get blown up by these haboobs. They get blown up, and they are taken by surprise by so many emotional roller coasters and crises and situations that arise with their loved ones. It may be the season. Clearly, they have an aging loved one, but there may be signs and symptoms going on. There may be indicators happening. And because of one reason or another, the families are not paying attention. The families, the seniors themselves often are private. They're pushing back. A lot of those great folks from the silent generation like to be very private and personal, and they don't let you into their world until you are in the middle of this. This show is for that professional that touches those families through your business, and it's for the adult kids. It's for me. I lost my mom last year, my dad a couple years ago. I have 7 aunts and uncles that are all north of 80, and a mother and father-in-law that are also in their middle and late 80s. So I'm living this absolutely. I know the emotional exhaustion. I know the sadness. I know the grief. I know the loss. And I walked this through with thousands of families in the last 25 years. I'm bringing you guests that also have a perspective and experience and expertise and wisdom to share. And today's no different. First time I met Dr. Couldry back, oh my gosh, it's been a few months now. Her husband was one of the first guests on the show, Dr. Bill, Dr. Hypno. And Dr. Couldry is an experienced practitioner in her own right. She's the owner and founder of Soul Echo Therapies. She's trained in all kinds of modalities to walk people through a lot of challenging situations in their lives and feelings of anxiety and exhaustion and stress. And we're going to talk about all that because those things are common to the adult kids that are feeling it. So, Dr. Couldry, good to see you. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure.
Oh, you are welcome. All right, I've been rambling quite a bit to get us here. Tell us about you, what you do, the different modalities a little bit, maybe an overview, because I think our listeners are going to have a lot of interest in what you've got to say today.
Well, thank you so much, Scott. I appreciate it. I have a doctorate in musical arts, and music has always been a very deep and profound passion of mine. And I founded Soul Echo Therapy because I knew that music can speak to the heart and mind. And by combining music with hypnotherapy and with, as you mentioned, other modalities like integral eye movement therapy, which is helpful for processing trauma by using eye access cues. That's kind of a quick overview of it. It was created by Andy Austin. It's similar to EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. So it's a psychological protocol. The nice thing about that protocol is that you don't have to completely relive the traumatic event to be able to get a shift, right? To be able to take some of the emotional charge out of what you're experiencing. And as you mentioned, experiencing some loss in your life, I went through a very difficult couple of years as well around COVID. I lost my grandmother in 2019, my father in 2020, and my sister in 2021. I think grief is something that a lot of people are navigating, and grief is something that can be difficult to carry, and that's also something that we can help with at Doc Hypnosis through my partner, Doc Hypnosis. And I'm Soul Echo Therapy, as you mentioned. I've been involved in music my whole life, and I went all the way up through my doctorate, and then
Hmm.
got involved in mental health and started doing a lot more research in that particular area, and that's what led me to hypnotherapy and then also clinical sound therapy. So, being able to use resonance and frequency to help reset the nervous system, which I think so many of us need to be able to do. And I think we get to the point where we just don't know how. It's like, what can I
Right.
do? What can I do
Right.
to take a breath? Right? I really need one. How can I get there?
Yeah, yeah. I when you talk about music and it gets into your soul, and it's so time and place for so many people, right? Songs take us right back to where we were when we were in
Right.
high school or college for a moment in time. Stacy and I, my wife, we went out this week to go see a tribute show to the great Phil Collins this week, right? And
I
so
love it.
being kids that graduated from high school in the '80s, Phil was everywhere. His music was
Oh
on the
yeah.
radio every day, 100 times on MTV. And so there you are. And I felt like it was the wallpaper of my life. Just this is very simple, but the point is that it's music gets embedded in our brain in a different part of the brain. It's stored there differently. So it is completely wired right into our emotional bank, right?
It is. It's definitely like your nervous system can respond to a frequency, to sounds of nature. There's a reason if you go to a spa or to, a relaxing place, they usually have the sound of water or a fireplace or, things like that. It's because that naturally tells your subconscious that you're safe. And
Mhm.
so even if somebody doesn't call it out or they're not specifically, mentioning it, it will still affect you and it will still help you feel more relaxed.
Why do we have such a narrow view of healing, I think, as a people?
Yeah,
There's such a man, we're so medically oriented as a society and we
yeah,
miss healing arts and healing opportunities. I've lived a really rugged last number of years, rugged, and we're not done. And there's
yeah,
bumps that I wasn't expecting, not just the loss of mom and the grief, but then really, really tough, challenging time with my brothers and everybody's got a
yeah,
different opinion about things, right? So you got all this family discord. I don't know. I feel burned out.
mm,
I don't know. I feel
yeah,
stressed out. I don't know. I'm not sleeping very well. And we talk
yeah, and
about
yeah,
music and healing. Yeah.
and it all snowballs too, right? If you can't relax, then you can't sleep, and then you feel more anxious and you're more stressed out, and then you can't relax, right? And it just becomes this big circle, and your body almost forgets how to kind of dial down. Actually, during the
Yeah.
90s and 1950s, this was when more research in sound, clinical sound therapy began because our soldiers came back from World War II and they were suffering from PTSD, right? They
Yeah.
couldn't get their nervous system to calm down, they couldn't get it to relax. Sound therapy was one of the ways that we helped our first responders, our soldiers, our veterans. So I know some people may think of it at first glance as, oh, that's woo woo, that's, crystals in
Hmm.
the corner. And there can be some of that if that's something that resonates with you, for the pun there, but the music, the singing bowls and the frequency is really what speaks to your nervous system. And I've had clients come in who are CEOs. I've had clients come in who are, first responders like policemen or firemen, regular folks, who are retired and are having a hard time maybe navigating that identity shift. I also have women, of course, that come and see me too. So there's a lot of things that you can do with clinical sound therapy that I think at first glance people might miss. They might dismiss it.
Yeah.
And I would really encourage you to try it, just to come and see for yourself. I think you might be really surprised by the effect that it can have on you. I've
Yeah.
had
Yeah. Go ahead. I want you to finish your thought. Yeah.
Oh, no, that's okay. I was just gonna say I've had clients come in, and all of a sudden they're crying and they don't know why. They don't know why, I don't know. And I'm like, "That's okay." Whatever it was held inside of your body and it
Yeah.
needed to be released, and this is a
Yeah.
safe space, right? So you bring your tears, it's fine, they're welcome here. I joke with my clients, I'm like, "Some of mine are in here too, it's fine." They can all be in here together,
Yeah.
You know? You don't have to, you don't have to put on a brave face all the time, right? I think that if I could give your listeners, I think, anything more than that, it would be that, all of us are struggling. All of us are suffering at one point and hurting. And, it's okay to ask for help. That's why we're here. And, we'll walk with you, wherever you are and wherever you want to go, we'll help you get that shift. And one of the
I,
things that I really love about hypnotherapy in general is that instead of talk therapy, where you're spending years and years and years kind of reliving all of these things, hypnotherapy is like, no, let's go from here. Where do you want to go? Let's get there, right? Let's focus your energy on that.
I two things I was thinking about. One is you referenced our nervous system doesn't know it's overstimulated or it won't calm down, I think is how you said
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And while we often here in this country associate being stressed out or being overwhelmed as we just need to, there's something wrong with me or there's something flawed in my
Hmm.
ability to carry the load I was
Hmm.
given. You're making it physiological. You're making it a
Yeah.
comment on our nervous system has been so fired up for so
Right.
long. We need to get it to calm down.
Yeah.
And it's a
Exactly.
different point of view that I
Yeah,
think our
your nervous system, yeah, it's doing what it's supposed to do, right? Your nervous system is warning you, there's a threat. There's a threat, right? But it gets stuck. It gets stuck and there's a threat constantly. And it's like, no, 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 no. You know, thank you, right? Thank you for
it
telling me.
almost feels like you're hitting the gas, and you're revving your engine, like, at a
Yeah,
high RPM for quite a while, and you don't even know
yeah,
that now you've just developed a new norm, and it's deadly for you, right? To
right.
run like
Yeah.
that.
And
Yeah.
then and then you need to go 10 miles an hour and it feels like you're like, oh. But yeah, we have to take that time to take a breath, to
Yeah.
relax a little bit. Yeah, I mean,
I
I think it's something that's constant, for a lot of people, when they do experience, like, especially post-traumatic stress, distress and all that, it's because yeah, you're stuck reliving that moment, right? You can't move on from whatever happened,
a lot
and
of
so
times these big events happen, but it's a large manifestation of a chronic problem. And if you've been
yeah,
living with a mom who has Alzheimer's disease and you're caring for her, and little by little, she's losing her capacity. So your role in
right.
her life is getting more and more profound. That accumulates in our soul and our
Oh,
nervous
yeah.
systems get bogged down.
Yeah, that's immeasurably heavy, right? That's the person that you absolutely adore and love,
Mm,
and you're simultaneously taking care of them and then watching them disappear. So that's such a difficult place to be in, right? Where
mm,
you're
mm.
also grieving the loss of your parent or whoever, while they're here. That's very hard to reconcile internally too, right? Emotionally and
Yep.
intellectually and all of those things.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you read about it. You can research and read all the articles you want and see all the data points, right? But it's completely different when you're the one that's living it every day.
Yeah. The second thing I was thinking about is like even talking about this, what I hope little by little is that when folks hear us, that we pull back the covers and make this a normal conversation. It is reasonable to think that you we just talking about all my aunts and uncles and everybody, right? So my
Yeah.
grandparents died in their 70s because they had a stroke, they had a heart attack, and they were gone, right? They didn't have
Oh,
great
yeah.
preventative care, they didn't have great medicines,
Yeah.
40 years
Yeah.
ago. And so these guys were gone. Now my aunts and uncles have far outlived their parents, right? And many of them are healthy, but now you start to see them with lots of healthcare issues and those chronic things, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, neurodegenerative issues like that are on the rise. And those are
Yeah.
long term chronic things where instead of just dying suddenly from that heart attack, we save
Yeah.
them, we fix them, put them back, we put them back together. And, my father in law had back to back strokes that should have killed most people. He didn't. He had incredible care.
Goodness.
And now he's 10 years later, but he's not living his
Yeah.
best life. And he's living and everybody's around him is heartbroken for years that this is going
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we're
Yeah.
living with.
Yeah. It's devastating.
Yeah.
I think not to negate the grief of losing someone instantly,
Mhm,
right, which is also
mhm.
devastating. I think
Yeah,
it's yeah, it's
yeah,
definitely very hard conversations and hard things to navigate, and I think what we could
yeah,
encourage anyone who's listening to know or to feel, right, is that you're not alone. There's a
yeah,
lot of people that are going through similar things and environments. There's a lot of I know some people aren't group people or they don't wanna share, they feel like maybe it's a weakness, but no, get out there. Talk to other people, right? It's okay to do that. Form your network, right? Help each other out, The groups that I think you work with several different groups, don't you?
yeah,
Yeah, I mean those there's a reason that they exist, right?
yeah.
Mhm. And especially I would say especially for our male listeners, which might be kind of funny to call you guys out, but I'm calling you out for a good reason.
Please
Um,
do.
you
We
know,
need it.
I'm like, I really do feel the more that I'm in this field that, the gentlemen that we love and care for, they really do just feel unable sometimes to let their guard down enough to be able to say, I'm hurting too, or I need help, or, because a lot of the times you're, like you said, suck it up, right? Suck it up, Boo Bear, right? You're supposed to be the rock, right? You're the mountain of the family, or the relationship, So a lot of times I think there's that additional heavy weight that just doesn't need to be there.
Yeah. Um, Firstborn kids hear me,
Oh, yeah, there's that.
Jennifer's talking about too, the males that maybe have a harder time putting words to their feelings. And so while that may be true, here's a modality that can get past that and get your nervous system calmed down with some sound and
Yeah.
music therapies and things like that, and some different ways to get around that will give you the effect that you need. Because tell me a little bit about the compounding effects of stress. What does that do to people? We know the answer, but go ahead and put words
Oh,
to it if
yeah.
you would.
It's not good. It's, increased risk of heart attack and high blood pressure and, all of those things. Cortisol, right? The stress hormone just decimates your body. I mean,
Yeah,
there's so many eh, comorbidities and things that are exacerbated by it. If you don't have time and you're not eating well, and then you're also stressed, that causes just, waterfall effect.
I see more men than ever, and being one of them, that have, big belly, cortisol bellies. Like, it's not beer belly. We used to call it beer belly, but it was a beer belly. But I've just seen guys so that are constantly fired up nonstop. And you see all these dudes walking around with the protruding bellies, and that's a cortisol visceral fat issue because your cortisol levels are all whack and your adrenal glands are constantly firing off. We don't turn that
Inflammation
down
and
somehow, right?
yeah, exactly. And one of the things that's lovely too about clinical sound therapy in particular is that there's no side effects. It's not a medicine. You just come and you sit, you come and you relax for like an hour and then you
Yeah,
feel the effects of that
yeah.
for weeks, for months sometimes, just depending.
And if I'm assuming, and tell me if I'm wrong, but from my days in working in behavioral health, where we have unresolved conflict with those parents that are now needing our help, and where we might even have some trauma from those parents that we are now in
Right.
first chair to help,
Yeah,
doesn't that
right.
just what? Now you're really asking to deal with a lot.
Right. But yeah, and to put all of your feelings away in a suitcase in the back bin, right? Because they have no one else, right? So what do you do,
Yeah.
right? And how do you reconcile the anger and the frustration that you may be feeling at them from prior experiences growing up, right?
Yeah.
And then now, here's a situation that you mentioned like firstborn, right? Here's a situation where like now you have to fix it because, that's your job in the
That's
family,
your
right?
role in
You
the
have to fix
family.
it. Yeah, yeah. And if you don't, like
Oh,
what does that say about you? There's so much there. There's so much guilt and just I think frustration and it seems overwhelming too, Scott. I mean, I know you've talked about this too, I'm sure on some of your other episodes as well. Just navigating the system alone and knowing even where to start is overwhelming. And then
yeah.
if you add into that, a parent who is dealing with medical concerns that are, rather extreme, and if they have dementia, they can't tell you who their doctor was or what medication they were taking or if they're supposed to or, so there's so much to
So
try to
much.
get. Yeah.
You think about people who might have some memory impairment emerging, right? So in their
Mhm.
70s, maybe early 80s, they're starting to have noticeable changes in their cognitive status.
Mhm.
And there's a big gap between the time that impairment appears and that legal incapacity. I was talking to an attorney about this issue.
Right.
You've got that adult child or that spouse that's got some maybe unresolved stuff. Mom's still in charge of her life, but now mom's making a lot of dumb decisions, or she's spending her money on
Yeah.
dumb stuff, and you're having to rescue and bail her out and pay her credit card bills. And now you're doing all these interventions during that
Mhm.
impairment phase. Where you are now exponentially hitting more nerves, for the adult child to navigate. And so I bring that up to go, I wish I'd have had your number. I'm coming to see you, my personal life.
I know, right?
Oh my
Right?
god.
It's
My
it's
god.
yeah, they some of these things are very, as you mentioned, they're very difficult to navigate, right?
Yeah.
And even just
Yeah.
having a friendly ear that you can say, "Look, this is what's happening. This is what I'm trying to do," you know? And I
Yeah.
have so many clients that I have to say to them, "Okay, you've mentioned this person that you're worried about or you're caring for. You've mentioned, this thing that you're doing that where are you on this list that you have of all these people and things you're taking care of?" And I get this look like,
You're not even in the top 10. Not even in the top 10.
and I'll tell them like, you need to be on the list somewhere, right? You gotta be, you have to be on the list. Don't leave
Yeah.
yourself off. I've mentioned on other like podcasts and things with Dr. Deal, you cannot pour from an empty cup. It's just the truth, You can try, you can give everything away, but then you have nothing. You have to save something for you. And you
Yeah.
should. You should
Yeah.
save something for you.
Without
That
feeling
doesn't make
guilty
you
about it.
selfish. Yeah, that doesn't make you
Right.
selfish or a bad daughter or, a horrible wife or a husband or that's not how that works, right? You need to take
Yeah.
care of you too to be able to help other people.
There's also a group of people listening to us that are professionals, as I said, that are working with, or their law
Mhm.
firm serves these people, or they're tax
Sure.
accountants for these adult kids, or these husbands and wives that are struggling with these issues around aging. And one of the things I said to my own primary care physician this year was, I really appreciate every year when I come in for my physical, he gives me a piece of paper and says, s- circle the right smiley face that indicates your mood. On a scale of 1 to 10, are you happy with your life? And on a scale of 1 to 10, are you sleeping enough? And I'm like, I'm so glad you're concerned with my mental health. What I wish you would ask me is there someone in your life whose aging journey is causing you pain or distress? And he's he's a very respected, experienced, with
Mhm.
a medical practice right in the middle of South Chandler here, which is surrounded
Mhm.
by retirement folks everywhere. And I put
Mhm.
words to it. And he looked at me. I'm like, do you ask your patients, is somebody in their life making them nuts with all their aging issues? He's like, I should ask that. I go, I wish you would. So what could you perhaps as a clinician help those professionals? What questions? I don't know, triggering thoughts would you have, little tidbits that might indicate that they need to ask their client who's in for their tax return this year, how you
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's such a good question, and, of course, it's there's nuance there, right, with how you would bring it up with
Mhm,
your client, but
mhm,
I think sharing that mental health is just as important as your physical health, as your financial health. I think that's a very important thing to call out. There's still a lot of stigma around it, but it's it's all tied together, right? If you're struggling, with depression, I can guarantee you're gonna see these other things pop up, like,
mhm.
you may be having financial problems as well, you may
Yeah,
be having health problems too, and it could be tied back to some of the things that you're navigating, like
yeah.
you mentioned. Especially grief. I think that's something that our society doesn't discuss very much.
Mhm,
I was
mhm.
just speaking to Dr. Deal about it. I'm like, it's like what happens with grief is, you lose someone and then all of a sudden everybody's there. And you've got everybody there, like, all on top of you for, like, maybe, 3, 4 days, like a week. All of a sudden, they're gone. And that beginning period is when you're in so much shock, you really don't know what, whether you're here or there, to be honest. And it's the after
Mhm.
part where you really do need the people,
Yeah. Yeah.
when they kind of
Yeah.
disappear. That's when you could need them.
Yeah.
Like, could you be there just a little bit,
Yeah.
like not on top of me, but a little. But yeah, I think you could tell those professionals, that, hey, do you have anyone in your family, or are you experiencing, some difficulties with mental health? Because we know these wonderful folks, through Scott. We have these lovely people that do natural forms of healthcare, right? With
Yeah.
hypnotherapy, with clinical sound therapy, and we can combine, things too. Like, I help people with all kinds of things, from phobias to anxiety and depression and trauma. It all
People.
dials. Yeah, and it all comes back to your nervous system. That's the
I'm
thing
so
that's.
glad you said that. I'm so glad you said you connect it to our physiology and anatomy, because it is how all of that is done through our nervous system. Our central nervous system carries all that information, and the body is amazing, and we can heal on so many things. And there's so many things I think we just ignore, or we're not educated on, or we've
Oh,
been
yeah.
not taught.
How simple it is to get at least a small amount of relief right
Yeah.
away.
Yeah. Hey, we're kind of coming in for landing here, but I do want to ask you one other thing, and I just want you to just kind of take it wherever you want to go with it, and just um, from your perspective, and not just limited to the topic we're talking about, but on a whole. And I think I kind of know where you're going to go, but I do want you to speak more about, or say, what you wished more people would do. Just in general, just take a shot at the world and go, I wish more people would fill in the blank.
Yeah. I wish more people would take their mental health as seriously as they do everything else
Mm,
in their life. I really do. I wish that more people would also give themselves permission
yes,
to to express that some of these things in life are difficult to navigate, and that that's okay. Like, the people that you think on social media or whatever have got it all together and it's all wonderful. That's their highlight reel. I don't care who you are. Nobody's life is all sunshine and roses. It's just not.
yeah,
So it's being able to navigate the parts that are not sunshine and roses, so that you can get to the point where you can enjoy the little things in life again, that you can give yourself permission to stop and just take a breath, right? Just taking a deep breath like that, if
mm,
you do that for maybe 2 to 3 minutes, you can calm yourself down. You can lower your heart rate and your blood pressure just by breathing slowly and giving yourself some space, right?
I
So,
love that.
yeah, that's what I.
Yeah. Thank you. Give yourself permission now, and believe that you're worth it, and not this isn't your
Yes.
yeah, this isn't a sentence. We've been given a role to play for a season with our loved ones, but it doesn't last forever. And with the right help, the right support, the right kindness, you can do this. You can navigate the waters you have to. And Dr. Coldry's here to help. Tell everybody your website, if you would, and contact. What's the best way to speak to
Oh,
you,
yeah.
or check in with you? Yeah.
Sure, definitely, thank you. Yeah, my website is Soul, echotherapy.com. You can
Mhm.
also find me through Doc Hypnosis. We're both partners in the Doc Hypnosis Wellness Center, and we work very closely together. And you can reach us at 602-314-1907.
And are you 2 now co-hosting your own radio show?
Oh,
Maybe?
yes, we are.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah, go ahead
please.
and tell us about that. Yeah.
Come and check us out. Yeah, we're every Saturday at 11 a.m. KFNX 1100, the Pulse of Arizona, and we're also on like Spotify and that kind of stuff too. So, but yeah, every Saturday at 11 a.m. we're live on the radio, and
That's
this
awesome.
week we're going to do something on grief. Yeah.
Take a listen. Check them out. You guys, just to let you know, once again, since 2003, myself and my team at Options for Senior Living has stepped into these spaces with families. We've walked families through thousands now through the journey of finding the right long-term care solution for a loved one when that's necessary. We also help you with all kinds of resources, getting help in home, aging in place, making your home safer. There's nothing that we haven't crossed or done in the last 25 years, and we would love to be a resource and help to you as well. Our services are free to family, and we're paid by compensation arrangements and with contracts with literally hundreds of senior living providers around the valley. So we vet those places and stay on top of that so that we make that a safe and protected journey for you. So we're also hosting a private Facebook group called the Aging Parent Tribe. The Aging Parent Tribe was built for caregivers and families. And so it is a protected, safe place where you can have dialogue, get resources. I say come in and throw up. If you just are sick to your stomach about whatever you're dealing with, we have people asking us about nursing homes, mom's incontinency, their new diagnosis on dementia. I mean, I'm telling you, and there are now hundreds of members in the Aging Parent Tribe here in Phoenix. So we would be delighted and honored to have you join us for the conversation and get some support, hang out with us, and help support you in your journey with your loved one. So, Dr. Couldry, it's been a pleasure. We've been looking forward. Thanks for hanging with me for the last couple of months so we can get to this moment in time today. And thank you for being here today. We'll talk to you guys later. Look forward to catching up to you again soon. And to our audience, thank you for making us a part of your routine. We are super grateful. If it's the first time you listen to us, like and follow us, Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. We are here for you. And once again, Scott Fischer with Options for Senior Living signing off for today. Take care.